Hey, how's everybody doing here? My name is Aaron Benzrihem. Some of you guys might know me as A. Benz Fishing. I'm a content creator, and I've also done a lot of written editorial work for magazines like Saltwater Sportsman, Florida Sportsman, and On the Water. And today I'm going to be the moderator for our panel of social media influencers, creators, and bloggers. And the goal for today's panel is really just about the fact that for a lot of brands and tackle shops, whatever it might be, getting into the influencer market can seem like a daunting task, especially when it comes to structuring deals and learning how to approach influencers. And our goal for the panel is to educate you guys on what we do, how we do it, what the benefits are, and also ease it, and so that you guys can find easier ways to organize deals and take advantage of influencer marketing. So we're going to be discussing tons of stuff from various social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, short form versus long form, and we have an awesome panel of very educated speakers. So I'm going to start off just by introducing our panel. To my right, we have Ryan Morie. So Ryan is an incredible creator in YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, basically everywhere he's there. And then we also have Patricia, and she's growing a lot and very quickly, and she's going to give us some great perspective on being a first-time ICAST attendee and discussing, what she's learned being here. We have Anastasia, who is in the bass fishing community very heavily, and she does a lot of work there. And then we have Angelica, who's a very avid fly fisherman, and she's going to be highlighting some of our fly fishing community. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, starting with Ryan here to my right. So Ryan, if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and just explain how you ended up using your passion for fishing to do the influencer and promotional work that you do today.
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me? Good. So my name's Ryan Morie. I'm a full-time content creator. That means I make videos for the internet, and I make money from those to help support myself. That's through working directly on social media platforms, as well as working with brands, like a lot of you all. So two brands you might know that I work with, BKK and Danko. They're both here today. And I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have on how an influencer can help create trust and customer loyalty with your brand.
All right, awesome. So let's move on to Patricia, aka River Sister.
Yes. Can y'all hear me? Can everybody hear me? Okay, so my name is Patricia Clement. I do talk fast because I'm originally from New York, but I'm known as River Sister. So can I hear y'all say River Sister? Y'all can do better than that. River Sister. Thank you. Good job. So influencing just fell in my lap. In my late 40s, I explored the outdoors and became obsessed. Couldn't stop fishing, couldn't stop crabbing. I started posting on social media and became an influencer just like that. And this is my first time at ICAST.
All right, awesome. So let's move on to Anastasia. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Can y'all hear me? Okay, my name is Anastasia Patterson. I am from South Carolina. I grew up hunting and fishing, but I fell in love with fishing at a young age from going to a Bassmaster tournament. I was about 6 years old, and it's crazy because it came full circle. The guy that won the Bassmaster tournament that year when I was 6, actually, I was on the Bassmaster cover last year at his home lake, so it's kind of like we did a little swap. My passion started from him, and it came full circle. I am definitely a micro-influencer, but I work directly with retailers and a few people in this fishing industry that are here, like Strike, King Loose, Zebco, Spearpoint Hooks, directly, but with my retailer, I get to talk to all the different people and buy at shows, so that is why I'm here. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm just going to skip the gun, sorry.
You're good.
My name is Angelica Talan, and I'm a DC-based digital content creator, social media influencer, model, actress, and television personality. This is my second year at ICAST. I have several clients that are here at ICAST, including Fishyware, Pure Fishing, Grays, and Trout Routes. Last year, I met so many people that I connected with and became partners, and now I'm working with them as well. This is my second year at ICAST. I'm proud to be here. Thank you all for coming today.
All right, guys, thank you guys so much for attending. So we're going to get right into everything. And so the different types of content formats that we have, as you can see here, are long-form video, short form video, story post, photo, and written word. And so all of these different types of content creation can be lucrative for so many different people in the fishing and outdoors industry. And there's different ways to take advantage and utilize both of them. So what I want to do is, for some of us that might not know or understand what we do, I want to go through and hear individually from each one on our panel what it is that we do, and if they consider themselves an educator, an entertainer, a little bit of both, and how they think that they can basically help brands with everything that they're creating. So we're going to start off with Ryan. If you want to just, for someone that might not know or understand like what it is that we do, in your own words, if you want to explain what it is that we do and what you consider yourself, whether it's an educator, an entertainer, or a little bit of both.
So first off, just a funny thing about me. I hate the word influencer, so I hate telling people that word. It's just weird, but that's just a me thing. I like to tell people that my goals are education, I like to inspire, and I like to entertain. And those are the three kind of, I guess, you know, the tiers that go into overall value that I've tried to bring to people. If I'm creating something, I want it to be something worthwhile for someone to watch. They need to get something out of it, otherwise I'm just wasting their time. So I create long form, short form. I've written for Saltwater Sportsman magazine. So I try and use all of the platforms to do those three things: entertain, inspire, and educate. Typically, I will go on a trip, make a giant YouTube video, and sometimes upwards of an hour long, and then I'll take that YouTube video and then I'll break that up into all of the short form content, and maybe I'll even write an article on it. So one trip will then lead into all of these different types of content formats that all reach different audiences and get consumed differently. But by doing that, I'm able to not only have a wide reach myself, but I'm also able to bring a lot of value to brands. So I'm using a BKK hook for an hour-long YouTube video. I'm also using it in 4 or 5 different short form videos. I also might talk about that in an article that I write, and that's all exposure for a brand that I partner with. So it's very mutually beneficial relationship for us.
All right, awesome. So Patricia, do you want to also, just tell us a little bit about the work you do and what you believe the benefits of an influencer are?
Again, being a city girl, I just explored the outdoors a few years ago, so I consider myself a recruiter. I didn't know how much fun and peaceful the outdoors was, so me sharing, hey, look at this, I'm relaxing. Hey, look at this, I'm catching fish, living this river lifestyle. I have to use products, so I attract new people. Again, as a recruiter, saying, hey, come on and do these activities that I'm doing. So with that, I'm using brands, I'm wearing clothes, I'm using equipment. So that's how I would share.
Okay, that's awesome. That's an interesting point too, because like she said, she just started fishing not too long ago, and she's appealing to a new audience, whereas Ryan's kind of appealing to an educated audience. So there's so many various ways to use influencers. So we're going to move on, and if you want to tell us a little bit about what you consider an influencer and the work you do.
Okay, perfect. I'm a little bit like Ryan. I use the term influencer as a loose term. However, I do believe that we all in this room can influence people. I might influence you to go do something, and someone can influence you. It's very easy to get influence in the world that we live in right now, especially through social media. I specifically do conservation, restoration, and education as my 3 kind of things that I promote. Obviously, if we're teaching, we're educating, that is being helpful to our business, especially with social media. So people are seeing, this is exactly what my product is, this is how the product works, this is how you can use the product, price rise, the price of it, that sort of thing. With conservation, obviously that gives back to not only just for us to be able to fish, but for people to be able to fish longer, our kids to fish, their kids to fish, that sort of thing. But how we all do that is we all have a brain. You can consider your brain a tackle box. What's in your tackle box is different than what your tackle box is or your tackle box is. So how do we make our products be something that everyone wants to get into the tackle box, into their brain, and be something that sticks with people? That's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome. So do you want to carry on with the conversation and give us your perspective?
Yeah. I've been a travel writer and blogger for 15 years. I've also gone on major network television to promote brands. I also get hired as a model to pose in your gear and go on the water and fish with your gear for your catalogs, etc. So I pretty much do a lot of image-based work. Let's see, what else? I mean, I always come from a place of yes. I love the term digital content creator. I feel that as a content creator, we are hired to inspire others to connect with the brands that we trust and that we want to promote. And I take that work very seriously. I work for several publications as a travel writer. I can model for you all, and I can also talk about your products on television.
I think she brings up a good point about developing trust. So something that I've seen as a creator myself is that I think it's important for all creators to only promote things that they authentically believe in, because audiences can see right through that. So for example, if I pick up a reel I've never used and I start to talk about it, people can tell right away, like, hey, he's never used this before, we've never seen it, and it doesn't come off with good authenticity. And so I think seeing how unique our whole entire panel is, it's a good opportunity to see that sometimes you don't want to use the metric of how many views or how many followers somebody has as opposed to somebody who can represent your brand authentically. So going into that, I want to talk to the panel again about what some benefits are that they think social media has that are unique, and also what's unique about the way that they bring their marketing to the table. How do they see their marketing for products and services as different from other things? So let's start with Ryan. What's your unique approach to how you market for products and services, and what makes social media and content creation a unique outlet?
So it's authenticity is one of the biggest things, because for me, I'm not going to use a product that I don't like. I've had a lot of brands reach out to me, and I turn down about 99% of the brands that reach out to me because it's a product that I wouldn't use in the first place, right? And the audience can tell, especially in an hour-long video, right? If someone's just being like, oh, we're just going to take this lure on, throw it out again, and oh, wait, we didn't catch anything, but it's awesome. It's a great lure. You guys should buy this. They can tell when you're being fake. So social media, there's not as many, I guess that's not a good word for it. It's not as filtered, at least the way I put my content out. I try and be as real and as personable as possible, and I try and interact with the audience, and I try and make the audience a part of a bigger community. So they feel like they're a part of a lot of the things that I'm putting out, and they know that I'm not necessarily lying to them. And it kind of gets back into that trust aspect, where you might see someone that you've never heard of catch something on a specific rod or specific reel, but someone that you know and trust and know they're consistently doing the things that you want to do. There's a lot of value in that and bringing that to the customer base.
I think that's a great point. I think as creators, we also build relationships with our consumers, and those relationships translate to the businesses that we represent, and then ultimately, hopefully the brands that we represent also build those relationships with our consumers, and so much of that is authenticity. And we're going to discuss further along in the panel the best ways to seek out influencers, because like he said, sometimes we get approached by people that we might otherwise not want to work with, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think as brands and exhibitors and companies, it's important to find people that fit. So asking the same thing about what some of the benefits are of social media for you and how you think you take a unique approach to marketing, I'll let Patricia take over and keep going.
What I like about influence on social media is that I can be myself, and I like to storytell, because somebody can resonate with me being from the city, have never been fishing, never been crabbing, haven't been on a boat, and say, wow, if this girl from the city can do it, I can do it too. Everybody knows everybody's on social media. You're on it when you're not supposed to be at work. Some people are on it in the bathroom. I mean, it just consumes time. So it's an easy way to market because everybody's on social media.
I agree. That's also 100% true. Like, I constantly find myself mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, and sometimes I see things personally that catch my eye that I might not have otherwise seen. So influencers do a great job of that. And something to add to that is, like, as you create content for companies, those companies can also put ad revenue into that content and recycle it, and they can, use some ad spend. Like if Ryan or Patricia or anybody creates a video and you really enjoy the content and you think it's a great representation and extension of your brand, you can put ad revenue onto that and you can boost that, and then it becomes an ad set for you. So you're almost paying them not only for the content itself, but for the advertisements long term, and those can go on forever. So let's continue with our panel. And what do you think some of the benefits are, and what's your unique way to deliver content and market for products and services?
So I definitely think that it is very important that whenever you're looking for someone to become an influencer for your brand, that you know that there's someone that's genuine, that's going to help you. It's a two-way street, that you're getting out of it what is worth for you, and that they're getting out of it something as well. A lot of times I feel like you'll get into a deal with someone and you're like, I don't really know if this is what I signed up for. So you need that transparency from the start that really helps drive people to you. But also, like, I live in a really small town. It's a really big fishing community, really big hunting community, that I'm using products that other people in my town can afford to buy, that sort of thing, that I'm not actually, out there shooting products that are $1,500 or that I know that people that follow me cannot afford to get. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. But also that whenever I'm giving or I'm talking about a product, that it's actually a product, like you said, you believe in, you want to buy, you would buy at, if you weren't sponsored by them or they didn't give you the product or it wasn't a deal, that you would still go out and seek to get that product. Because it's really important that even if it's something that you might not necessarily need, but you see it, that you still want it, that you have that influence to get it, that's why you go get it and that you buy it. So yeah, I hope that was...
Yeah, no, I think what she said is all a great point. Like sometimes from my perspective, again, as a creator and somebody who spoke here last year, something that I think a lot of influencers agree with and brands have difficulty with this is that it's hard to quantify the value of impressions. And so a lot of stuff, especially in a corporate environment, has to be quantified with numbers and sales. And sometimes if anyone on the panel, Patricia, Angelica, Ryan, anybody makes content and it generates tons of impressions, it's very hard to track whether or not somebody ended up buying something from those impressions. And with platforms like Instagram and TikTok, the consumer experience to leave those platforms and buy can be very difficult. So sometimes you might not see immediate conversions, but long term, those impressions are super valuable. And so I think everything that we're talking about is important. So let's finish off. And what do you think is your unique approach to marketing and the different types of services that you offer as an influencer?
I personally think that if you as a brand or a consumer of social media want to partner with an influencer or digital content creator, that you research, check out their personality, check out their demographics, check out their location. For someone that works in the Mid-Atlantic region, you might want to connect with, an influencer in Alaska and try to get your product out on the West Coast or out in Alaska. So it's important for, I think, brands to really do their research, try to connect on a personal level with people that are authentic, like Ryan said, or like Aaron said, don't look at the numbers all the time. Those metrics don't mean anything if you have someone that is not authentically using your product and truly believing in this connection that you have with them. I really enjoy long-term partnerships where I can really get to know the brand that I'm working with and continue to market them throughout the entire duration of my fly fishing career. And I think it's very important to kind of really connect with someone that you find valuable on every level, personality, demographics, age range, socioeconomic range, what you're looking for. And that's a great starting point to really connect with a different audience than maybe the one that you're currently working with now.
Yes, and so one of the most daunting tasks that I get every time I come to ICAST or talking to brands is like, how do we collaborate with you? Like, what do you want to see? How can we make this beneficial? So we're going to be discussing different ways that they see collaborations as the most lucrative for both parties. But prior to doing so, we're going to break down the different types of content formats. And again, these are broad formats. There's other ways to go about things, but our first one is long form video, which is typically videos you see on YouTube and Facebook that are over 2 minutes. And they're typically the highest converting videos, and it gives you more time for the context, more time for the sales, and more time for establishing the stories and the relationships. But sometimes they take longer for the actual creator to make, and it's not going to be like they can pump out 5 long-form videos, and sometimes it can take a long time to build an audience. And so after that, we have our short-form videos, which is really taking a rise these days. I'm sure you see short-form video everywhere, and that would be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn. You could see those pretty much anywhere that you go. And so the pros are that massive viral potential, right? It's not rare for a short-form video to get multi-million views, and we're going to talk about how those views actually generate tons of watch hours, which was something that analytically I couldn't. All these different platforms are now providing more in-depth analytics, and so we're able to see that like a video with 500,000 impressions might generate 10,000 hours watched, and that's a lot of stuff. So it's lower production costs, but not all short-form videos are created equally, and sales conversions can vary wildly. Like we discussed, it's hard to to quantify the metrics on a short form video versus on a long form YouTube video where you have that YouTube engaged audience that's probably going to use your affiliate code or probably going to use your link. I could tell you personally from scrolling and being, I'm 29 years old, I still buy stuff that I see on Instagram. I definitely don't do it that day, right? I'll see the video, I'll kind of make like a mental note, this is a pretty cool product, I'm going to revisit this, and then I'll go do it later. I'm not going to click that guy's profile, click the link in the description, and Instagram actually will tell you you're leaving Instagram, and they make it like their job is to keep you on Instagram, right? So they don't want to incentivize you to leave. And so our next would be story posts, which are very personal, right? You have a lot of intimacy with your audience. So story posts, typically, if you have 10,000 followers and you get 1,000 story viewers, that's really good. That's 10% of your audience, but that's your closest 10%. So while story posts might not seem the most lucrative, you can link things in story posts on Instagram, and the cons obviously are lower reach. But again, that's a highly converting audience. Like I could tell you personally, I sell my own merchandise on my own site, and I sell most of it organically on my stories. Because if people are watching my stories, they're my engaged audience, I can put a link and they click right through. And then we also have our photos, right? So that can be great aesthetic for websites. Every person here is capable of taking very aesthetically pleasing photos, and sometimes just having that photography on your website can be very beneficial. Somebody's going out there and doing the legwork for you. And then our last is written word. So that's what you see with, different types of blogs, and it can be posted on different things, but again, it's lower reach. So I want to talk to our panel about what are some of the forms of collaboration that they think are most beneficial, and then how do they like to structure those? So let's start with Ryan. What are the forms of collaboration that you see are most beneficial, and what's your preferred way to structure those? And I'll help you with is it like a long-term partnership, a short-term partnership? How do you see things working best for you and your audience?
So I'll give you the most annoying answer, but it's the most true one, and the answer is it depends, like anything. So it depends on what the brand is and if it's the right fit for a long or short-term partnership. So typically, those are the two types I would say is a long-term partnership, which is usually a year-long contract. I'm typically exclusive with the brand, so I only will use BKK hooks, Danco pliers, and knives, right? And then you also have short-term partnerships, and here's an example. I have a quad lock case on my phone. Aaron and I have done multiple short-term partnerships with quad lock cases. And that we typically structure in like a 3-ish month deal, and we write down X amount of content that we're going to make for them. Maybe it's 10 story posts, 3 short form videos, and 1 long form video, and we post that over 3 months. I typically don't like to do one-off deals with brands because you run into the risk of, I'm going to post 1 video for you. That video can overperform, and the brand thinks, wow, this is amazing, let's do this every single time. And then in future partnerships, they're really bummed out. Or that video can really underperform, and they're like, wow, I wasted all this money. So I typically like to do video packages. I like to do a couple sets of things for my short-term deals to really bring the most value to that brand and show them exactly the reach that they're going to be getting and show them how much traffic we can send to them when it's the right product fit.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you just said, and I see the same thing. So those are really well-structured deals sometimes where you do a 90-day contract. The long-form ones for me personally are the ones that I find more beneficial because it gives me time to establish, the product reach with my audience. So let's continue on. And what are some forms that you prefer for collaboration if you're going to do something?
Again, being new, I don't want to seem desperate like I'll just take anything because I won't. But I've done some videos, like maybe my boat brand asked for 2 videos, and the other day now they asked for a long-term relationship. So being new, I'm open to both to see where it best fits and where it can go. And I prefer, it depends on what the video is, of how long I prefer. If I'm teaching something, I probably need a minute or 2, but if I'm just showing off this river lifestyle, I may need 20 seconds.
Okay, that's cool. And again, like she said, super authentic and honest with you guys. Since she's new, she's testing out different partnerships, and I've been doing it a little over 3 years now. I was the same way, and you find out what works best for you as an individual creator, and then after you start to learn, then you run with it. So what about for you? What do you find are the best ways to collaborate with brands?
So I would say depending on what brand, like y'all have said, it kind of depends on what you do. Also depending on if it's like a company that only has, one product or they have multiple products, kind of depends on what that looks like. I work with a non-endemic, so it's not in the fishing industry, called Lululemon. I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard of them. But with Lululemon, I run 4 stories a month. It's really easy, 4 stories a month. I get to pick exactly what products they are. It's always like an everywhere belt bag, and then I get commission off of that. So it kind of depends on that sort of thing. But also, just because you post something doesn't mean people are going to click through to it, right? So that's like the bad thing about stories, especially because you only see it one time. It's 24 hours. It disappears after that. Or depending on what it is, sometimes they'll take a story down. I'm sure you'll know, a lot of things that get taken off of social media just because of what it is or what they're seeing. They kind of are selective about that. But then whenever it comes to like brands, I always look for brands that I can have long-term partnerships with, that I believe in, that are going to help me, that can help. They're close to me, a lot of them, but also that I don't just know one person at the company. I can tell you almost everyone in the room, sort of thing. I always make sure that, you know, I want my sponsors or people that I support and work with to feel like a family to me, and that I'm someone that they can keep reaching back out to. Now, I also do, especially on TikTok, like one-off sort of things. But that's more so like if I do a get ready with me, they send me that sort of stuff, which that's more of a girl thing than a guy thing. Most people don't want to watch men get ready, but they do. And then another thing would also be like if you have something that's kind of new and coming into the fishing industry, if you send it out, you know, beforehand, 3 to 6 months before it launches, and then I could do a couple of things that tell you like this is what's coming out, this is how it works, that sort of thing. But I never really do products that I just get my hand on for the first time, unless it's something that I'm like, this is so cool, you have to see this, that sort of thing, unless it's like at the show where we're walking around seeing everyone kind of with wool over our eyes for the first time. But I think that the long-term partnerships are where you really get to know a company for who they actually are, and they get to know you, so it seems more genuine to me. But that's also, you know, sometimes it's really good to get a lot of different influencers pushing your brand, because then a lot of people are seeing it. So it's kind of one of those things where what works best for you works best for you.
Yeah, I agree. And the get ready with me is definitely more of a female thing. I don't think anybody wants to watch me put on my clothes or get ready, but they like to see you with gear, so that was funny. Let's move on. And what do you think is the best way to collaborate with a brand for yourself individually?
As a digital content creator and brand ambassador, I personally really enjoy just sharing ideas and brainstorming together as a unit, as a collective and a collaborative, and finding out exactly what you want from me as a digital content creator. Some of my brands endorsements are short term, and by short term, I normally do 3 to 6 months as a short term. Other brands like Fishyware, I've been with almost 4 years, and we've grown together as myself as a digital content creator and them as someone that's really made its mark in the fly fishing industry. So I think it's very important, if you're looking to hire a digital content creator or an influencer, to really share your ideas and see if you have a mutual understanding for a mutual beneficial partnership.
Perfect. And so now I want to bring your attention to the screen. So we're going to talk a little bit about short form here on this panel, because short form is blowing up. Pretty much every platform has short form. So with Facebook, they have Facebook Reels. With TikTok, you have your TikTok short form videos. With Instagram, you have Instagram Reels. Every platform has it, and it's growing. And short form can be one of the more difficult ways to structure a deal, because again, I want to draw your attention back to quantifying numbers. That's very important to brands and businesses, because you want to see that things are going well. So a lot of times what happens is brands will offer affiliate codes, and full transparency, personally as a creator, I don't do anything for affiliate codes anymore unless there might be compensation on top with a structured deal. And again, this is speaking personally. It's because it's difficult to quantify. If you generate, for example, these are my personal analytics, 2.6 million impressions, and you see that the watch hours are on something like that, 15,000 hours watched. If 1% of that audience goes and visits the site and a percent of that percent converts, it's going to be lucrative. But they may not convert that day, and they may forget about your code. So it's kind of like the theme of, you know, you're putting things in people's faces and they're seeing it for hours on end. And so as a creator personally, when I get offered solely affiliate codes, I don't feel like I'm being compensated for the time or the impressions that I'm generating. You guys might feel a different way. So short form is very important. So I want to discuss short form specifically, since things are trending towards that. And let's start with Ryan. What do you think are some of the pros and cons of short form, and how do you specifically like to structure short form deals?
Well, I'll let you guys in on a secret. If you scroll up in the slideshow to the short form, I made this slide so you can see my pros and cons right there. But short form is insanely viral. Personally, I do both because I think they both have pros and cons. I do the long and the short. But the amount of people that you can reach, the amount of people that would never, ever see anything that you make, see a short video that you made that happened to reach widely is crazy. You know, it's a billboard that is on everyone's phone when a TV commercial comes on and they pull it up. It's, oh, hey, look, there's another little video. And it's essentially, if you know how to structure a video properly, it's free advertising. It costs you nothing to put that on the app, and you can do it as many times as you want. So there's a ton of benefit to getting as much reach as possible. And there's just a great way to be creative and show your brand in different lights. And I think the fishing industry is really behind in this. If you look at other brands in other industries, a lot are showing their behind the scenes in these short videos. They're telling stories. They're talking about how their manufacturer screwed them over and how they had to go over to China and get a new machine to build out this brand that they've been working on for their entire life and they spent their entire life savings on. And they're getting millions of views for their brand, and they're really kind of building that culture in their company. And it's all on a short form video. So there's just a lot to do, and I think it's unfortunate that more brands don't use it because I think it's really undervalued.
Ryan's also being modest. He's like the short form GOAT, which stands for greatest of all time. Anything this guy posts gets like at least 500,000 views, and it's really well structured. So I personally have learned a lot from him. But something that he said is important for brands, specifically you guys here, organically, without any ad revenue, short form is still the fastest way to grow all your social platforms. So if you're a brand, you know, for example, like a company I work with is Right Angler, and you're trying to grow that social platform, short form is the way to do it. And something that's really beneficial about short form is if you get a video to go, meaning like you post a 30-second reel of your new product and it goes to, let's say, 100,000 views, you can again put ad revenue on that video that you already know is trending. So you have proof of concept on what's working, and now you can put some ad expenditure on that, and then it's just going to keep climbing in views. And the more people see, the more they like it, the more they share it, the more you get that product in people's faces. Again, hard to quantify because you don't know how much you're selling as a result of that, but all exposure is good exposure. So let's continue on. Patricia, what do you think are some of the benefits of short form? And if you structure a deal for short form content, what's something that you might want to see in that deal?
I think short form is better because most people attention span is short. So example, we're in crab season in Virginia, so if I want to record a video of me baiting a pot, dropping a pot, and catching the crabs and cooking it, I can do all of that at one and save it, or I can post a short video and say, hey, I just bait my pot, come back tomorrow to see me pull it. And then tomorrow I'll pull the pot, and then tomorrow I can say, hey, you want to see me steam the crabs? I'm going to steam them later. So that's 3 videos that's short that I know people will watch versus watching one long video. And what was the second part?
If you want to structure a deal with a brand, somebody approaches you, what's the best way that you would want to see that collaboration go? Because a lot of what brands struggle with is how do they approach an influencer? What's the best way to reach out, and we're going to talk about that after, but what do you want to see in a deal?
I would say it's not a one-size-fits-all, like Angelica said. My goal is to give you what you want. So I will brainstorm and say what I think will work, because I've had people to ask me to make, can you give me 3 recipes in 30 seconds? I was like, no, maybe 2 or maybe 1, like maybe you should chop it up. So it's really on what you want.
Okay, and then following up, what do you think are the benefits of short form, and how do you like to work your collaborations when you work with brands, specifically on short form?
Okay, I'll be very honest with you. They have all influenced me to love short form a whole lot more. You see their engagements, and especially Patricia, how fast you can grow your social media from short form videos is incredible. There's actually, I live in South Carolina, like I said, a girl that I know that started social media with 0 followers at the beginning of 2023, has almost 500,000 now. I've been on social media for over 10 years, and I'm probably never going to see those numbers. But short form might be the way to get me there. So I too am getting on the short form bus, if you want to say that. But I also see that short form is a lot easier to make content-wise. You can push out short form a whole lot faster, and exactly like the first 6 seconds, kind of, if in 6 seconds people aren't engaged, they're going to swipe. If after that they're still watching, they're more likely to finish the whole video. I think that's almost like proven. But if not, when you get too long, it kind of gets like too much information. If you want people to see the product, you just keep posting over and over and over again. It's like planting a seed in a garden. You water it, it gets in their head, and it'll grow, and it'll make them actually be motivated to go and out and get your product. But then also when they see multiple people that are pushing it, not just the same face all the time, I think that helps too. And then the way that I want to do that, or the way that I do short form content is, like I said, I work with a retailer in my hometown, one of the largest Ace Hardwares in the U.S., Simpson Ace Hardware. There's 5 locations. So I will set up short form content kind of day where I go actually to the store. Sometimes I do this with a manufacturer, but I'll go there, make content, and I'll have a ton of content. I take videos on my phone all day, every day. Y'all can probably see from this show, I've posted thousands of videos, not just on my page, but on other people that I work with pages. I make about 10-second videos. That way you already have 6 seconds. You get the best 6 seconds. You get engagement. You can put stuff on there. But it just kind of depends on what they want, what I'm putting out there and on to the platform.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so let's continue on. And because as you can see, everybody kind of has a unique way of structuring their short form. So what's your favorite way to structure it? And if you want to, collaborate with a company, what's the best way that you see a deal going?
Well, I just want to remind you all that TikTok is still here, and that's like, the top of the short form. We all thought it was going to disappear. It's still here. That means a lot. So pay attention to that as a brand when you want to collaborate with digital content creators. I think short form content is really key because it shows your authenticity. It shares your value system. It also can allow you to be funny. It can allow you to be serious. It's basically a very short snippet. It's your portfolio in 10, 30 seconds. I really promote that highly. The way, what was the second part of that question?
How would you like to collaborate with a brand on a deal? How do you see that as the most lucrative for both parties?
Well, I think a mutually beneficial aspect of partnering on short form content is really trying to put your heart and your soul in collaboration with your brand ambassador's partner and soul. So if you, for instance, I was a brand ambassador for Reddington Gear, if you all are familiar with the fly fishing brand. And they hired me because they wanted a mom to really reach the audience of, people with children. So again, it's about being organic. It's about knowing who you want to partner with and knowing your demographics and your audience and the people that you really want to connect with to sell your product.
That leads us right into our next slide, which is actually all about audience demographics. I think there's a common misconception in social media and content creation that you're only appealing to like high school kids, middle school kids, whatever it might be. When I can tell you that for my personal demographics, my audience is typically 25 to 45, and it's typically men. And I see a lot of that when I go out and I see people on the water. Obviously, there's a lot of younger kids that watch it as well, but I'd say that the primary demographic for my audience is that. And so we have a slide here that is Ryan Morie sharing his demographics. And so we're going to just go through the panel and we're going to discuss who they see their audience as and who they find themselves appealing to. But that is definitely one of the biggest misconceptions with partnering with a content creator. It's like, oh, well, we're just going to be marketing to high school kids, obviously no offense to them, or middle schoolers who are not a high converting audience and they're not going to generate revenue for us. Whereas, as you can see here, with Ryan's audience demographics, the vast majority are very similar to mine, 25 to 44. So what do you see your main audience demographic as, and how do you try to appeal to them?
So I try to make videos and content for a person that I used to be, right? I try and make videos and content for someone that was at my knowledge level maybe 5-10 years ago, and I try to appeal to that type of person. I also try and entertain them and inspire them a little bit. I would say that every platform has a little bit different. As you guys can see, the audiences are slightly different, and it all can be expected. If I'm making a 45-minute long YouTube video, a 13-year-old might not be watching it, but I can't tell you how many guys over 50 or 60 that I've had come up to me and say, man, I love your videos. It's been teaching me a lot. I just retired. I've been trying to get into fishing. It's been really informative and awesome. So it's very interesting to see the amount of people that are out there consuming content now. And I try and structure my content to meet each platform, knowing that the audience is going to be slightly different on each one. But just the answer is it depends again, I guess.
Hey, that's all right. Everything varies, right? So let's move on with Patricia. How do you structure your content for what you see as your audience demographic, whoever that might be?
Right, so me being new, again, I'm a recruiter. So I target, most of my audience are African American females who have never been fishing. They're not exposed to the outdoors. So I come across very welcoming to them to say, look, if I can do this, you can do it too. Yes, when I first started fishing, if you look at my videos, you'll see I had gloves on. I was scared to touch a fish. Now I'm bare hands, ripping crabs apart, just doing it. So them watching me, seeing it, is like, okay, if she can do that, I can do it too. So yeah, my target audience is new people who've never fished before and may be curious. Did you have a second part?
No, that's it. That's awesome because you know your demographic, and so you can work with a brand and structure a deal to target that demographic. And so moving down the panel as well, who's your audience and how do you structure your content towards that audience?
Perfect. So my audience really is people that love hunting, love fishing, love Jesus. That's really kind of where I'm at. Literally, whenever you go to my page, you see that on there. That's all people see. And I interact pretty much with anyone that interacts with me. Even if they're like kind of creepy sometimes, I'll just be like, thank you so much, I appreciate it, and you just keep going, because the more that you interact with people, the more that your page gets engagement, right? So as long as you reply, you like those things, you reply back, it still boosts you up every single time because it keeps you like relevant in terms. But also I see a lot of older men and then very young girls that are like trying to get into the fishing industry. I run a little account called Girl Fishing Gang, where it promotes girls in the fishing industry. So that's also why I have a lot of women engagement. But it just kind of depends. With my hunting stuff, I definitely see more men, but with my fishing, it's kind of mixed. It's definitely always people who, I see like 20 to 45 for the range of mine. But then if I'm posting stuff that's just like general content, I kind of have a very diverse set of people that are engaged with me, but it's kind of because I do a whole lot of different things. I plan weddings, I plan events, hunting, fishing, obviously. So I'm kind of all over the place, best of both worlds kind of girl. And
what about you?
Well, it's interesting because I literally just checked the metrics earlier this morning. I'm a mom, and a lot of moms follow me because of my content. They want to take their children outdoors. So I have an age range between 24 and 45. I'm in a very high socioeconomic class when it comes to Washington, D.C. and Arlington, Virginia, being two of the wealthiest areas in the country. So it's very interesting. My median income for my viewer or my audience is around $750,000. That lends itself very well to fly fishing and golf and all those really nice, expensive outdoor activities. But there's a lot of women who really want to see themselves represented in these types of sports. They don't always see themselves represented. A lot of young teenagers and younger girls. There's one back there. She's 11. Hi. And she's here to see me because her dad and I are friends. And the parents are looking at my feed, who I'm partnering with, so that they can actually pass those brands down generation by generation. I'll give it to you this way. When I was growing up, we used to use Heinz ketchup. There are other people who use, I think, Hunt's. Through your family, you may want a certain rod, let's say Winston, and my rod, Winston, I'm going to probably pass that down to my 15-year-old. She will then probably pass it down to her child, and so on and so on. So that's the way I look at it. I look at it long-term, generational.
Yeah, and I think along with audience demographics, we have ages, genders, and we also have like how we categorize ourselves. So for example, I'm very particular with the type of fishing that I do. I'm an inshore fisherman. Ryan has a bit of a broader audience. We have fly fishermen, bass fishermen, newer fishermen. So there's always going to be an influencer that helps fit what you're looking for as a brand. And I think once you establish that, something more specific about approaching them, I want to discuss real quick. We're going to have two more questions here, and then we're going to open up the panel for questions from you guys. But if a company wanted to reach out to you, what's the best and easiest way? So me personally, it's always just been my Instagram DM. And typically you want to reach out from the brand's page because I'm sure everybody here gets a lot of direct messages. And then I also have a website. So everyone's, individual. So what's the best way to reach out to somebody like you, Ryan?
For me, it's email primarily, and I have that listed in every single social. And then Instagram DM would be second, but it has to be from a account that looks legit, not like, my cousin Joe with 7 followers, because you just get so much spam and so many bots out there that you're just going to ignore those.
Yeah, mine will be the same, email or a business account on Instagram.
Mine's definitely Instagram, Anastasia Patterson _fishing, or my mom, she's in that pink shirt back there. My dad, you always see him walking around. Anywhere I go, they're here. So if you see them, they have my cards.
Mine is definitely Instagram, but I'm also on Snapchat. You guys can follow me at Angelica Talan. That's ANGELICA TALAN.
All right, so we're going to ask one last question, and then again, open it up for questions from you guys. So if you guys could leave the audience with one parting thought on the benefits of social media and anything that you think that you might want to let them know about yourself or content, what would it be?
I would say content's here. And again, I'm going to say that the fishing industry is a decade behind other industries, and it's a great way to get a lot of eyeballs on your brand. And if you have a good product to back up that brand that you're showing people, the sky's the limit. I'm an open book. Like I said, social media is my full-time job. If you ever have questions, I always am willing to put goodwill and value out into the world. I don't hide any secrets. There's no secret. It's just like anything. There's hard work involved in anything that's worth doing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And what about you,
question
Patricia?
again.
So if you want to leave the audience with one parting thought on what you think something that's beneficial about social media or anything you'd like to say to them about the content, what would it be?
Right. For the seasoned people, seasoned in age, I mean, I know you don't like learning new things and you're like, what's this social media? I don't want to be bothered. I would challenge you to explore it because, again, I explored the outdoors in my late 40s and fell in love, and look at the doors that is open for me. So I would say don't be afraid. There's plenty of YouTube videos, TikTok videos, and then you have us to ask, like, hey, how do you do the social media? And I'm sure you have kids and grandkids that can help you out. So I would say don't be afraid to explore social media. And when you pick an influencer, I would look at their personal life. Look at their personal page. Go through and see what type of person they are. If community service or values are important to you, make sure that that person's personal life reflects what they're selling you and sending you by email.
100%. What about you, Anastasia?
Okay, so I would obviously say you just have to start, right? That sounds easier said than done, but y'all have already done the first step. You're in the room, so you obviously were interested in starting or either to continue what you've already started to do. So that's the first step, to start where you're at, just grow where you're planted sort of thing. Second, make sure that it's genuine, authentic. You obviously don't want to lose followers, you want to gain them, so you want to, like everyone has said, kind of work with people who are going to be better for your company and help you to become better. And then the third thing is just if you don't have to necessarily spend all of the money right now, right? You can put a little bit of money into, 2 or 3 smaller influencers, and then once their content grows, it'll help you fund to get that bigger influencer, that sort of thing. But if you want to just jump right in, that's also okay too. So kind of just do what you think is going to be best for you at the end of the day. Obviously, we can't tell you how to run your company, but we can help you run your company, and we can help you get more followers in maybe a different market, or get into more places that you don't necessarily know exist right now.
Awesome. Angelica, any parting thoughts here?
I'm going to use a couple of buzzwords that I know that you all have heard, especially in 2023. Representation matters. Representation matters on so many levels. It's not just an ethnicity thing. We're women here. We're BIPOC women. There's so many different types of people that are here with money ready to buy your product. Just feel free to throw some gum at the wall, see what sticks, try new things, try to market to different people. You would be so surprised. The moms that I am partnering with, like the woman that owns Fishywear, Linda Leary, we're out here. We've got the buying power, so make sure that you don't, skip us. We're here. And
Yes.
I want to thank you all for being here today, because this is the most diverse panel that I've ever been on in the history of my fly fishing career. We're all here. Thank you.
That's so awesome. That's true. She makes a lot of good points. My parting thoughts for you guys are, don't be scared of influencers. Reach out to them and ask them questions. Some of the biggest relationships that I've developed, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have developed, have just been a simple DM like, hey, I'm interested in your content. Is there anything you think you can do for me? And then, it starts the conversation and it starts the relationship. And then we end up, forming a long-term relationship. So reach out, ask questions. Most influencers are really nice, and they actually really enjoy talking about what they do. So, it's definitely my advice. Just reach out, start the conversation.